Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. We are on Harada Sanosuke's route, and it is super late, but I just can't resist reading an episode because I just finished reading the amazing Shinsengumi. So I really felt like reading an episode of Hakuouki since I just finished that, and I'm free! Although Office Lovers is releasing soon, so I might be doing a speed reading of that when it comes out. But I want to intersperse Hakuouki with it because I don't want to let up on this again. Because I really want to get through this fast. Well, not fast, but soon. Especially since my sister really wants to see it too. And while the anime is still fresh in her head. Alright, well anyway, we were just talking to the princess here, and she was telling us that we're a demon. And she's trying to convince us to come with her, but I think we've already refused. Can't remember exactly where we were in the conversation. Let's see how the rest of this conversation goes. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Oh my! One of those gentlemen, perhaps? Oh, the reason why I'm staying here, that's why. What? Her question came... Oh, darn it, I need my walkthrough. Okay, I believe I'm supposed to say yes. I hope I'm at the right part here. Yeah. I nodded and did my best to look confident. I see. She smiled. Well, I shan't ask who, but I can certainly understand your dilemma. That being the case, I couldn't possibly tell you to leave. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for waiting. The common room was just as we'd left it, and every head swiveled to look at Sen and me when we stepped back in. It didn't look as though they tried to kill each other in our absence, which was something of a relief.
Have you reached a decision?
Before I could speak, Sen stepped forward. After some decision, we have decided to leave things as they are. Oh, discussion, sorry. Sen. She bowed deeply to the captains. Are you sure, Your Highness? Quite, for now I believe it is of utmost importance to prioritize Chizuru's desire.
Very well. The Shinsengumi accepts responsibility for her well-being.
No sooner were the words out of his mouth than all the captains rushed toward me.
Just relax and leave it all to me. Oh, I'm sure Shinpachi will give you all sorts of other things to worry about. Still, glad to have you around. What kind of girl would want to stay here? This doesn't make you any kind of special guest. You get the same treatment you always have.
Yet you're smiling. It's so nice to see Hijikata happy to see me here. Right. Thank you all for letting me stay. Sen took my hands in hers and let her eyes rest on mine. Do be careful, and remember, I am on your side. Thank you, Sen. She gave me one last warm smile, and then Sen and Kimikiku were gone. Once again, sleep refused to come. My mind worked furiously, turning over everything Sen had told me, examining it from every angle. I was a demon. Not only that, but I was the head of a pure-blood demon clan that had been nearly destroyed, and my heritage was the reason Kazuma had developed such an interest in me. Gosh. I had decided to stay with the Shinsengumi, but was that really the best idea? Should I have left instead? I wanted to stay, of course, and I didn't really think leaving was a reasonable choice, but what if I made a mistake? It wasn't an easy question to answer. The relentless flow of thought had at last begun to subside when I heard noise erupt from outside. Roars and shouts of battle, accompanied by the sound of steel against steel, echoed through the night.
I'm sorry for bothering you so late, but this is an emergency.
There was someone just outside my door. Shimada? Yes? The word was barely out of my mouth when the door snapped open and Shimada stepped into my room. His eyes darted back and forth nervously. His body was tense. Has something happened? He nodded.
The demons have attacked us. Here.
What? I leapt for the door, but he threw out an arm to stop me, and his eyes met mine.
They're after you, which means you need to stay here.
But... I was the reason they'd come here. How could I justify sitting on my hands while others fought battles for me? I didn't know what to do. I need to go outside. How am I going to get past Shimada? I don't know, but that's my choice. I have to go, Shimada.
I can't let you do that.
Those demons are here for me. If anyone gets hurt, maybe they'll listen to me. That's why they're here, right? What if I can convince them to leave peacefully? Please, I'm begging you, let me go. Shimada's brow furrowed, his mouth drew into a tight line, but at last he sighed and shook his head.
Fine. I was told to protect you, though, so if you're going, then so am I.
Okay. We ran out of the house, and then I paused momentarily, unsure where to go.
What?
One moment Shimada was there, and the next he wasn't. He flew several yards through the air, then landed hard on the ground, slid another few feet, and lay still. Shimada? I froze.
Just where do you think you're going?
That cold, flat voice. Chikage Kazuma? In the same instant that I recognized his voice, I felt his arms snake around my neck, pulling me toward him. Oh, he's so pretty. I struggled, but his grip was as immovable as steel. Let me go!
What sort of business do you have with false demons,
His voice was like a cold breath in my ear, and I could almost hear a sneer in his tone.
No matter how much you give these humans, they will betray you. You've seen those abominations they've created, haven't you? What could you possibly hope to gain from them?
I was at a loss for words. The creation of the Furies was hardly something I approved of, but I wasn't part of the Shinsengumi. What right did I have to criticize their actions? Especially when the very concoction that allowed them to create their false demons had been created by my father. I don't think he's really my father, right?
Breaking into our headquarters, huh? Takes balls. But that fun's over now, pal. Hey, let her go.
Hijikata! Harada! Behind them, I could see Yamazaki and several of the other Shinsengumi soldiers. Some men were missing, though. Had they been injured by the demons? Perhaps even killed?
You fools. You have no idea of her worth. She is most valuable when used by a fitting partner. If you're that into her, then just bring her flowers and stuff, like a normal guy. This stuff is just creepy.
The Shinsengumi had surrounded Kazuma by now, but his grip on me hadn't wavered even for a moment.
She's worthless to you as a hostage. I have no intention of using her as such. She is my goal here, not a hostage. The rest of you are simply obstacles.
The ring of men around him began to draw in. I could feel the tension build, like a rope being pulled taut. Soon it would reach its breaking point. What was I going to do? I will... trust the Shinsengumi. I had decided long ago that I would trust them. The men of the Shinsengumi had far more experience and skill than I did. The safest thing for me to do would be to leave the situation to them. My eyes met Harada's. They were calm, confident, and warm. Even quite literally in the grip of the enemy as I was, his gaze made me feel safe somehow. I would be fine.
I've taken care of the men at the gate. Already? Man, this is all way too easy. It's boring. I was hoping for a little more excitement, you know? Hey, look at that, Kazuma. You got her. Let's go. Indeed, the longer we remain, the more likely it becomes that the situation will escalate out of our control. Yes, you're right. Man, gotta say, I was expecting a little more than this. Course, they are only humans. Guess this is the best the Shinsengumi can do.
His laughter was cut short by Harada's spear.
Care to repeat that? Oh, hello, Harada. Don't move, Chizuru.
As he spoke, his spear shot forward, slipping through the air only inches from my body. With a tiny sneer, Kazuma's hand snapped out to catch the spear before Harada could pull it back.
You thought you could defeat me with this. Pay attention, you're fighting me, remember?
Out of nowhere, Hijikata appeared, his sword already sweeping down on Kazuma. He let go of the spear and spun to avoid Hijikata's strike, but in doing so, he lost his hold on me. I slumped to the ground as the Shinsengumi's combined attack forced Kazuma back.
Don't move. Human filth.
He brushed aside a second blow from Hijikata and strike from Harada.
You bleed when you're cut, right? So if I chop off your head, I figure you'll die too.
Stands to reason?
Care to test that? Yeah, I think I do.
The sound of steel on steel rang out across the compound.
I fail to grasp human behavior. Why fight when you know you cannot win?
Man, everybody in this game looks so cool! As he spoke, Amagiri moved toward Kazuma, but found Nagakura standing in his path.
I think you've already got a date for tonight. I would rather not, but you give me no choice, it seems.
Amagiri's fists looked as if it moved nearly as fast as a cannonball, but Nagakura managed to deflect it.
You're the guy who hurt Heisuke, right? I'm not going to let you go until I get in at least one good hit for him.
Hijikata's full attention was focused on Kazuma. He no longer had a hold of me, but it seemed clear he wasn't ready to give up on taking me just yet. The night echoed with the sound of steel on steel as blades leapt forward, met, and flew apart again.
Harada, you're mine.
The tip of his gun drifted and weaved, trying to get in a good shot at Harada, but they were both in almost constant motion, making that shot practically impossible.
Piss off. Come on, Shiranui. This close, my spear and your gun are pretty evenly matched. You must really want to get Phil full of holes. Lord Kazuma, our enemy has regrouped. Then we've had enough fun for one night. We can take her anytime we like.
With a short nod to one another, Kazuma and Amagiri leapt over the wall to the street and disappeared.
Huh, demon's my ass. All bark and no bite.
Insult seemed to be all Nagakura had for the emergency, however. His arms hung at his sides, and the tip of his sword nearly touched the ground. Still, he could hardly admit that one of our foes had yet to retreat.
You're a real kidder, Harada, trying to fight me with just that little old spear. Looks like we'll have to settle this at a later date. Hopefully, we'll be able to finish next time. I don't want to fight until one of us dies.
And with that, he was gone. Was it over? For tonight, at least, it looked like it was. I was still sitting on the ground where I'd fallen when Kazuma dropped me. I felt my body go limp as the tension disappeared. A quiet sigh of relief escaped my lips. My first CG with Harada! Oh.
You okay? You did good.
I looked up to find Harada's smiling face in front of my own. Harada. I stopped. If I said anything more, I was afraid I'd burst into tears, so instead I gave him a shaky smile. With a grin, he tossed my hair, and his touch pushed me over the edge. Oh, Harada, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm just sorry I couldn't get to you sooner.
No, you saved me after all. You don't need to apologize. I didn't feel guilty for having been saved, at least, but I still wish there was something I could do to make myself useful.
Hey, don't give me that face. You helped us out, you know.
What?
You believed in us and stayed put. That gave us freedom we needed to drive them off.
Harada.
Any guy feels like he's fighting for justice when he's protecting a lady. We did our best because of you, Chizuru. Shinpachi, Kondo, Hijikata, all of us. We were at our best because of you.
To protect me.
So, I don't want you thinking you're making trouble for us or something like that. Thanks, Chizuru.
Thank you, Harada. He held out a hand to help me up, and by the time I was back on my feet, I was smiling from ear to ear.
Good. Now you can sleep soundly knowing that we're here to protect you, no matter what.
Yes, I will. With a grin and a wave of his arm, Harada escorted me back to my room. It seemed like morning came altogether too early. I sighed, splashed my face with cold water to clear my wits, and headed for the common room. The captains and several other men were already there, including Inoue and Yamazaki. Good morning. They nodded or mumbled return greetings, but their faces were universally dour after the night's events. I heard Inoue and Yamazaki mention Shimada's name and edged over to listen to their conversation.
How was he doing? The hit knocked him out, but aside from bruises, he seems to be fine. He'll be back on duty soon. I sighed with relief and felt some of the tension leave my neck. If Shimada had been seriously hurt guarding me. Oh, Chizuru, Shimada wanted to apologize to you for not doing a better job.
What? I'm the one who should be apologizing to him. I felt the conversation in the room ebb, and I turned to see Kondo walk through the door. He was unusually calm and collected, but today his face was especially stern. Something was wrong. But what? He looks really mad to me, not just stern.
Uh-oh. What's happened? You've got a scary enough face to begin with, Kondo, and now you're just terrifying. Look, you're even scaring her.
No, I'm not scared. I waved my hands desperately, and the men laughed.
Sorry about that.
He gave me a tight grin, but then looked down, his face grim. Please, just tell us what happened. Is it bad?
Well, you'll find out soon enough, I suppose.
He wasn't just talking to me anymore. The rest of the men moved closer to hear what he had to say.
Nishi Hongwanji doesn't want the Shinsengumi here anymore. They're telling us to leave, you mean? Well, they didn't say that in so many words, but yes. I had a feeling this day would come eventually, but now that it's here, what should we do?
The monks at the Nishi Hongwanji temple were imperialists and allies of the Choshu. They'd never been fond of the Shinsengumi, but we decided to force our way into their temple anyway. It was no surprise that they wanted us out, but I'd finally begun to feel like the temple was my home. On a more practical level as well, it was more convenient for our work in Kyoto. I was sure I wasn't the only one who felt that way.
Still, this is awfully sudden. Do you think that last night's incident triggered this? I don't have to think, I know. They don't want fighting on the temple grounds. I'm sure someone else had a hand in this too. Choshu maybe, or Satsuma.
The fight the night before had only happened because of me. I'm sorry. This is all my fault.
Not true. We came to this temple and forced them to yield to our admittedly unreasonable demands. But what are we going to do? If we have to move, then we need to start looking for a new location. Actually, we don't. We'll be provided with a new site courtesy of the Nishi Hongwanji temple. That's awfully generous. They must really want us gone. Yes, on both counts, which is why I decided to accept their offer. Things are going to get busy around here soon.
And where did they offer us? A plot of land was purchased and a new compound built, all paid for by the Nishi Hongwanji temple. It became the third headquarters of the Shinsengumi, the Furudo village location. By the time summer came, the Shinsengumi had left Nishi Hongwanji, where they'd spent more than 2 years. Wow, it's been 2 whole years? You wouldn't guess it by the way things are progressing. November 1867. A gust of wind stripped some of the last stubborn leaves from the trees and sent them skittering across the Kyoto street. It was cold and bit into me through my clothes. I shivered. It's almost winter, isn't it?
Yeah, the wind's gotten pretty cold lately. Still, we don't have it too bad during the day. I can't imagine how cold it gets for the night guys.
It was November, and the temperature was definitely dropping, although it had yet to get cold enough for us to see our breath during patrol.
Are your hands cold? Would you like me to hold them?
Even though I look like a boy? I'm not that cold. I'll be fine. Oh! I noticed someone walking toward us.
Hey, Chizuru. Sano, what do you think you're doing? You're supposed to be working, not screwing off and hitting on poor defenseless girls on the street.
Especially ones that are disguised as boys.
Hey, not everybody's a gigolo like you. She looked cold. I'm just trying to be a gentleman.
Oh, hello, Nagakura. Nagakura's patrol put him on a different route than ours. It was only luck that we'd happened to meet in one of the few places they overlapped. Their bickering might have looked odd to a passerby, but I knew it for the sign of deep friendship that it was.
What's up? Why are you grinning like that?
Because it's cute seeing you two be friends.
Probably she thinks your face is funny, Shinpachi. You really ought to do something about that.
No, it's just, well, I was just remembering when we met up like this before, like the time I met Kaoru. I was with Okita and Heisuke then, though. Oh. More than 6 months had passed since Saito and Heisuke had left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. Harada and Shinpachi's faces turned grim as I trailed off. I shook my head, hoping vainly to cast out the unpleasant thoughts. I just mean, there's been so much going on lately, it makes me nostalgic.
The Shinsengumi has changed. Hell, so has the rest of the world.
Yes, like the shogunate handing power over to the imperial court. Nagakura nodded as I spoke, with the air of a pleased teacher, encouraging a student.
Yes, very good. Now, do you know how the loss of Ito and his followers affected the Shinsengumi?
Why am I getting a history test right now? Well, we have fewer members now.
You are half right. True, we have lost some of our men. Those who were staunch imperialists were the first to leave. That meant that most of the guys who stayed were loyalists. Not all of them, though. Yeah, you remember when Kondo got promoted into our service to the shogun, and we all became shogunate vassals? That everybody was happy about that.
That was right around the time we moved to Fudodo village. Several more men had wanted to leave. Some of them had been given permission to go, but others were told it wasn't an option, and were forced into the Fury Corps. What? That is wrong on so many levels. So they forced some of these people to take that drug? Kondo's promotion had changed the Shinsengumi's relationship with the shogun, where before we'd only been philosophically aligned with the shogun, now we answered directly to him. For some reason, that was a serious problem. How do you guys feel about being vassals of the shogun?
Oh, I'm not really a fan. Yeah, I didn't do all this work just so I could be a retainer for the shogun.
Neither of them was very happy with it. Then, Nagakura especially. We kept walking for a few blocks, talking about this and that before Harada yawned quietly.
Your droning is putting me to sleep, Shinpachi. You can tell him to shut up too, if he's boring you, you know.
Oh no, I'm fine. I like listening to Nagakura talk about things.
You see, Sano, she's a good girl, unlike you.
Well, yeah, he's not gonna be a good girl.
Now, shall we continue? What do you know about the Meiji Emperor's ascension 2 months ago, and the restoration of the imperial rule last month?
Well, the restoration was when the Tokugawa shogunate returned power over the government to the emperor, right? I don't really know much about it.
Well, you know enough. That's pretty much it. A man named Ryoma Sakamoto from the Tosa domain was the one who figured out a way for the emperor to regain power without destroying the shogunate.
Unfortunately, Nagakura continued. In doing so, he managed to anger both the loyalist and imperialist factions, and earned the enmity of both.
At any rate, the restoration means that Tokugawa has lost all real authority. At least, that's the official story. In reality, he's keeping a lot of power. The government just can't function without someone to hold the reins. The Satsuma are up to something too, but we don't know what. Still, the world's not going to change overnight.
I see. As I looked around the city, it seemed like he had a point. Nothing much seemed to have changed. Inns were still bustling with travelers, tea shops were still smelling delicious. Life continued just as it always had, regardless of what the shogun was or wasn't doing. The city might look the same as it always had, but time flowed on regardless, and a great wave was coming that would carry us all away. I looked up at Nagakura, and something occurred to me that I hadn't thought of before. Before I realized what I was doing, I'd already opened my mouth. I didn't realize you were so smart, Nagakura. You know a lot about politics.
Didn't realize? Wait, just what did you think of me?
That you're a big dumb brute? That's so horrible. There was a man named Hiroma Sakamoto. He was a ronin from the Tosa domain, and had allied himself with the Satsuma and Choshu domains as well. For a time, the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner, Mimawari Gumi, and even the Shinsengumi were desperate to find him. After his orchestration of the restoration of imperial rule, however, orders were passed down to leave him alone. I had only a general idea of who he was and what he'd done, but even I figured out that he was an important person, so when I heard Inoue mention him, I listened.
Ryoma Sakamoto has been assassinated. Are you serious again? Did they know who did it? Sakamoto has a lot of enemies. Could have been imperialist or loyalist. Hell, it could have just been personal. In any case, my money's on Miura of Kishu. Huh. You think maybe they're looking at us for it? Damn. If the bastard was getting killed anyway, I should have done him in. That's, not very funny coming from you. In fact, weren't we specifically told to leave him alone?
I never met Sakamoto. I barely knew who he was, but I felt somehow that his death would shake the country to its core. Inoue frowned.
As you all know, there was a decision made far above us, and Kondo was ordered to leave Ryoma Sakamoto alone. Unfortunately, the rest of the country is unlikely to see it that way. A scabbard belonging to a member of the Shinsengumi was found at the scene of his death. There has been a request for an official inquiry.
A scabbard? Is that really enough evidence?
If it isn't, I'm sure they'll just fabricate more. It's obviously a ruse. Who are they saying it belonged to anyway? Actually, they say it was yours, Harada.
No! They're trying to frame him? Of all the people to try and frame for murder, Harada?
Really, Sano? Damn, I wish you'd brought me with you. Knock it off, Okita. Besides, my scabbard's right here. This is idiotic.
He threw up his hands in exasperation. Inoue smiled faintly and nodded.
I don't suspect you, and neither does anyone else here. Unfortunately, I doubt the rest of the nation will extend you the same courtesy. I imagine they're having trouble determining the real culprit. There was talk that Kyutaro Miura from Kyushu asked the Shinsengumi to kill Ryoma.
Miura? That was the man Nagakura had mentioned. He had some sort of personal quarrel with Sakamoto, which made him a suspect.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of people who'd love to pin this on the Shinsengumi, but unless someone did it and lied about it, there's no way it was us. Unless Sana decided to do a little work off the books.
The room fell silent.
How is Sana these days? Her reputation is grisly enough, but the rumors I've been hearing about the night patrol are even worse.
It was true Sanan had been acting stranger and stranger. Although I didn't want to believe it, I had to admit it wasn't that difficult to imagine him doing something like that. When I passed him on occasion in the hallways, his eyes were dry and thirsty, as if he was always hungry for blood.
We'll have to be careful then. We can't let people learn about the Furies.
I hope you've been being careful this whole time.
About that. Oh, hey Kondo. Hijikata. Whoa.
Saito!
Saito? What the hell are you doing here?
I rubbed vigorously at my eyes, looked, then did it again. But there was no doubt. The man who followed Kondo and Hijikata into the room was the man who'd left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, Saito himself. Well, one of the men.
Oh, hello, Saito. It's been a while. What happened to the guard?
What are you talking about, Inoue? There's no way Hijikata would allow anyone from the guard here. We're prohibited from even talking to them. And we'll find out what the deal was in the next episode, because I'm going to stop reading for this one for now, because I want to read one more episode for tonight, so we'll break here and read one more, and then I'll go to bed. Alright, so the next episode of this should be up shortly, I think. Hope to see you there or in one of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.